Good morning, students. Today we are going to learn the topic functions with parameters. So, students, first of all, let us see and understand what parameter means. For that, we will go to our Python shell and then the Python script and try to write a program containing functions with parameters. So let us see. So students, we are at the Python shell and we are ready to go to the Python script mode, and here we will first write a function which doesn't have any parameter. Then we will write a function which has a parameter and we'll compare both of them. So let us write a function which doesn't have a parameter. Say for example, I'm writing a function greet. So greet is a function and it does nothing but say it prints hello to us. So we'll print hello in greet and it's over. A very simple function for us. Let us take another function. Now this function will print a number for us. So let the name of the function be, say, fun1, and what it does is it prints, say, n. Now what is n? Where has this n come from? Have we declared n? So we can see we have not declared. So what value will n print? Let us do something here. Let us put n after fun1 and within the parenthesis after fun1. Now this is what I was saying. This is known as giving parameters to function. Whenever you put a variable's name within the parenthesis, that is within the bracket of the function being declared, we say we are putting a parameter. Let us also comment it here. So what we are doing here, n is a parameter within the function fun1. So n is a parameter. Now you would be actually thinking of what is n? How the value would be given to n and what n will print. So let us see. See students, first let us execute, or I should say call, the greet function. You all now know from the first given YouTube video of the chapter functions. And what was that chapter? User defined functions. From user defined functions, you understand that if I write greet here, it is going to call greet function and print hello for us. So what we are doing from here? We are calling greet function. So we are calling greet function from here, and you know how it is called. Now what we will do here is we will try to call fun function also. Now when I call fun function, you can well see that fun function has something called n within the bracket after its name. Here students, as I said, that n is a parameter. Now fun1 function is bit different than greet. While we were running greet, we need not give anything to greet as no variable was waiting here to take a value from us when we were calling greet. You all know students the flow of execution. The function execution starts from here for us. The interpreter actually goes to the first line and helps itself to understand that yes, there is something called greet. Then it goes to def fun1 and it understands yes, there is something called fun1 with a parameter n. Now this is the line from where we are actually calling greet. Now while we are calling greet, we don't need to give anything to greet because no variable is waiting here to take a value in greet. But as you can see, fun1, in fun1 a variable n, which is, as we said, a parameter within fun1, it actually is waiting for a value that is to be given to it when we are calling fun1. So I have to actually pass a value from here. I can pass any value. What I am passing? I am passing 10. So if I am passing 10, this 10 is actually to be referred by n. Now n will use this 10. N will now refer to this 10 and use this 10 for further work. Let us see by executing this given function fun1 and function greet. So we start. Let us give a name. Because it is of parameter, we write say p6. See what it did. It printed hello for us through the greet function and it printed 10. But what we had said we want to print n. Now why n printed 10? N printed 10 because we passed 10 to n. So we can well see n printed 10 as n actually now has started to refer to the value 10. Why did n started to refer to the value 10? Because we have passed that value 10 to n. Now students, what type of variable this n is? See, as we passed 10, at this given moment, n is of integer type. Let us see here. We write here type of n also we want to print. So again, if I run this code, you will understand that it is showing that what type of value n is. N is of integer type. Why is n of integer type? Because we have passed the value 10 to it. Now let us pass some other value to it. Suppose I want to now pass say a string. So now if I pass this string, let us see what changes occurs. Again hello would be printed and this time I have passed Amit to n. So n is not going to refer to 10 now. N is going to refer to Amit. So what should be displayed? Amit is going to be displayed. And what should be type of Amit? Type of Amit would be string. Let us see. See, the type of Amit is string and it is actually being referred by the parameter n. N is a parameter. It is actually a variable. Because it is within that bracket of the function name, it is now called to be a parameter. So students, what did you see? The type of the parameter depends upon the type of the value you pass to it. Earlier we passed 10, so it actually became of integer type. But the moment we passed a string, Amit, to it, it started working like a string. That is, n now looks like a string, works like a string. So n has a type which is same as the type of the value it has been passed. So I think students, you can well summarize what we read till now. We understood that a function within its bracket can have a variable. That variable is known as the parameter. Actually, it is given when the function is being defined. Once a function has a parameter, while you go to call that function, you need to send some value to the parameter. If you don't send a value, let us not send a value, what will happen? It will show error because n is expecting a value. It is actually expecting that you would be giving some value to it, but you are not passing. Let us see, we are not passing a value. What is going to happen then? Let us see. See, it is giving error. What error? It is saying one required positional argument n is missing. So students, if you have a variable within the function's parenthesis, that is, if you have a parameter, you will have to give a value to it whenever you are going to call that given function. Value has to be given. So we gave a value here and value had to be given. Students, one more point that is very important to discuss here is, see, there is another name given to this given n. We talked of it as parameter, but the full name of this given n is formal parameter. It is said to be formal parameter. Actually, we can well understand why it is said to be formal parameter. It is said to be formal parameter because it is actually waiting for a value that is to be passed to it. So we can say it is formally waiting for that value. And what value is being actually sent to it? We are sending the string Amit. So whatever you send actually, that is actually being sent. So it is known as actual parameter. So n is not at all a parameter. It should be said a formal parameter. And what Amit is here? Amit is a string. You can send an integer as you saw. They all are what? Whatever you send, that is known as actual parameter. So students, you have understood what formal parameter is and what actual parameter is. These words would be again spoken afterwards, and you should understand what actual parameter means and what formal parameter means. The variable name declared while the function is being defined within the parenthesis of the function is called formal parameter, and the value actually being sent to those given parameters is said to be actual parameter. So students, I think you have understood what formal parameter is and what actual parameter is. Let us now delve a bit deeper into the things. What can we send? We sent an integral value, a literal 10. Then we sent a string literal, that is Amit. So you all know that we can send 10 like this. Now let us see, can we send a expression? Now what is an expression? Say I am sending 5 by 2 plus 3 into 4 minus 8 by 6. Can I send this sort of things? Let us see. Is expressions allowed while calling a function? Now what do you think? Let us see first, then we'll analyze. Let us go for the output. So we go for the output. See, it is giving, and it is giving a value 13.1 and a lot of 6s. So let us see how it gave, what happened. Actually, whenever you give an expression to a parameter, that is, you pass an expression to a parameter, the interpreter first solves the expression according to the arithmetic rules, that is the BODMAS rules. So it would solve this expression, and whatever output was after solving would be sent to n. So what we find? We find that we can give a direct value to the expression or to the parameter, or we can give a direct given expression to the parameter. So parameters can take a value, parameters can take even an expression. Let us see one more thing. Suppose we have a variable, say t, and we put a value in the variable, say 30, a value in the variable. Can I pass the variable to this given function? Let us see. Yes, it has taken it. So what does it mean? It means that actual parameter, when you are passing an actual parameter can be can be a value, that is a literal, it can be an expression, or it can be a variable, or it can be a variable. So you can pass anything. You can pass a literal, you can pass an expression, you can pass a variable name also, which has a value. It is going to work for us. Now students, let me ask you a question. How many parameters does greet have? You will laugh at me. You will say, sir, greet has no parameters. And you are right. Greet has no parameters. Now, how many parameters does fun1 have? So, fun1 has one parameter. So, we call greet as non-parameterized function and fun1 as parameterized function. Now, question is, can we have more than one parameters for a function? Let us see. Can we have more than one parameter for a function? That is our next question. So let us see. Let us make another function fun2, and here we'll have say two parameters n and m. Now students, you need to understand here that this n which is of fun1 is not the same n which is in fun2. Both the n are different n's. Fun1 has n which is mutually exclusive to the n of fun2. So fun1 has n which is residing in the boundary of fun1, and fun2 has its own n which is residing in the boundary of fun2. So I think you have well understood that both the n's are different n's. Let us proceed. Now we'll do nothing here. We'll again print. A simple work we'll do. We'll print n and we'll print m. That is what we want to do. And this time we are not going to even call fun1. Let fun1 rest for a few moments. We are going to call fun2 because we are now focusing on fun2. Now the question is, I have two parameters in fun2. Now when I have two parameters in fun2, how I am going to give the values to these two parameters? Because we all now understand that fun2 is not going to work for us if we are not passing n a value as well as m a given value. So both have to be given values while we are calling fun2. Now how to give the value? Let us see. See, we give the value in this way. So how many values did we give? We gave two values. How many parameters are waiting for taking the value? Two parameters are waiting for taking the value. So fine enough. We have two parameters who wants to take the value for fun2, and we have two values while we are calling fun2. Now the question is, who is going to take the 10 and who is going to take the 20? Students, it is all first come first serve. The first parameter is going to take the first value and the second parameter is going to take the second value. What does it mean? It means that n is going to take 10 and m is going to take 20. So let us test it out. So what we do, we change the expression a bit, we make the things a bit clear, we change the expression. Here we write this thing so that we will understand what n gets and what m gets. As we said, according to our conventions, n is going to take 10 and m is going to take 20. Why n is going to take 10? Because n is the first in the list, so it is going to take the first value. M is second in the list, it is going to take the second value. So let us now run it out. So hello would be greeted, fun1 is not going to work for us, fun2 is going to work for us and give a value to us. Let us see. So you can well see, students, that hello is printed, n gets 10 and m gets 20. Why n gets 10 and why m gets 20? Sheerly because of its position. Why? Because n is positioned prior to m. So n is going to take the first value and m is going to take the second value. Students, this is known as positional arguments in actual parameter. So actual parameter is being given to the formal parameter, is being passed to the formal parameter on what basis? On the basis of position. So it is known as positional argument. So what it is known as? It is known as positional argument. Now students, the question is, can we change the order? What I mean is there a way that I would write 10 and I would want 10 to go to m? What I mean is that I will write 10 first and then 20 while I call fun2, but I want that 10 should go to m and 20 should go to n. Is it possible? Let us see. The answer is yes, it is possible, but you will have to take a bit more pain for it. What pain you are going to take? You are to exclusively say that m, you take n, m, you take 10, and n, you take 20. So now what you did? You actually used the words m and n. That is the name of the variables m and n. What happened? Even if you wrote 10 before 20, but 10 was given to the second parameter m and 20 was given to the first parameter n, because you exclusively wrote that m should get 10 and n should get 20. This is another way of passing values to the parameters, and this is known as the keyword method. What did you do with the keyword method? You actually changed the order of giving the values to the parameters. In positional arguments, it was being given sequentially one by one. But with keyword method, you have a liberty of giving value to a variable which is at the last of the list in the parameter lists first, and then giving a value to a parameter which is first in the list of the parameter list. So you can change the order. M, which was second in the list of parameters, has been given the value first, and n has been given the value after m, even if it was first in the list of parameters. So you can well understand that keyword argument method actually can change the order in which you pass values to the parameters. So what is this actually? Whatever we have done now, it is not on the basis of position, it is on the basis of keyword. So this method is known as keyword argument method. Keyword argument method. So we had learned positional method, now we have learned keyword method, and we have also seen how it works. Let us again see it. You can well see what change it does. Now n has 20 and m has 10 with respect to the previous given code which we wrote, which was using positional argument. Now this is using keyword argument. So you have changed the values what n had and what m had because of the keywords you used. So I think students, you have understood. So two methods of passing arguments you have understood. One was positional method and the second one was keyword method. Students, let us go for something more. We will now talk of default arguments. Now what is default argument? See here students, we are giving a value while we are defining the function to one of the parameters, I'm giving m 40. Now what will happen if I give m 40? I have a liberty now. What is the liberty? Now I can give only one value while I am calling fun2. Normally what happens? If there are two variables in the parameter list, that is there are two formal parameters n and m, when I call fun2, I have to give two values, one for n and the other one for m. But here you see we have got a liberty. What is the liberty that we have got here? The liberty is that even if I give one value, I pass one value when I am calling fun2, fun2 is not going to complain. It is going to work for us. What it will do is, it will use the value 40 for m, as fun2 has already provided a default value 40 for m. So when we don't give a value to m, m is going to use the default value which it has, and this method is known as default argument method. Here the first parameter n is actually using the positional argument method, and the second parameter m is using the default argument method. So let us see how it works. So we'll see it, students, but this given shell has been full with values, so let us remove it, and now we will run this again. So we run it. Now you see hello is printed, n gets 10 surely because of the positional argument given, and m uses 40. Why m uses 40? Because while calling we had not passed any value for m, so m uses its default value. So did you see, students, you can even leave a value unpassed. Then what will happen? Then the default value would be taken into consideration. So when there is a case of default argument, it means already a default value has been put to the function and it can work with that default value. Suppose we pass a value here. Suppose we pass a value here. Now the question is, what would the interpreter do? Is it going to work with 40 or it is going to take 90 into consideration for m? Students, the interpreter is a bit miser. When you give a value, it hides its own value and uses your value. That means you can well understand what I want to say. I am actually saying that if you have given 90, then m is going to use your 90. M is not going to spend its 40 and it is going to hide the 40 which it has. It is going to use your 90 and do the work. So what do you see? Your function 2 has liberty now. You can give one value, then also it works for you. You can give both the values to both the parameters, then also it is going to work for us. And how it is going to work? Now m is not going to use the default value, it is going to use your 90. So let us now run it and see. See, m is using your 90. So you have understood the concept, students, how it works. When you actually pass a value, m is going to use your value. If you don't pass the value, m is going to use the default value. And this concept is known as function call with default arguments. The first one actually was with default argument when I only gave 10. So what it was using? It was using default argument. You see, it was using default argument, and here even if there was a default, but it is using the positional thing. So you can well understand this was positional argument method. So students, you have seen how we can call a function using three different methods. One is the positional method, the second one was the keyword method, and the third one was the default method. Students, let us try something different. So first let me call this, as I have written this code, you can see the output. Let us see the output. So I think you have well understood. As we didn't pass in the first call of function to a value for m used its default value 40, and when we passed a value 90 for m, it is using the value which we passed, that is 90. So you have understood this. Now let us try something else. What is that something else? I would like to give default value to n. So let us give a default value to n. Now what do you think? Are these functions going to work for us? Let us do it one by one. Let us delete this portion and only try for function 2 with 10 as a value. So students, you will be thinking, okay, n has got a value 50, so 10 is for m, and it is going to work for us. No students, you are wrong if you are thinking so. See, as you are passing 10, we can well think, okay, the first value is going to replace 50 in n, and n is going to take 10. And if you think in this way, then also what value is m getting? M is getting nothing. So the interpreter, is it going to work for us? No way out. The interpreter is going to give us error. So let us see what error it gives. It would give an error which we would understand after a few moments. But let us see that whether it gives an error or works for us. It gives an error. It says non-default argument follows default argument. We'll understand what it says. Non-default argument and default argument, we'll understand it afterwards. But we now understood that it is giving an error. Let us try the other way out. Let us write 20. Now you would think that yes, now it is going to work. N is going to take 10 and m is going to take 20, and both of the variables in the parameter list is getting a valid value. So function 2 is going to work for us. But students, here also you are wrong. Let us see. Yes, the error has come again. Now what is it? Why there is an error here? The error here is because Python does not allow you to give a default value to a parameter which is at the left of a non-default parameter. Now what does it mean? See, Python says that if you want to give a value by default to n, first you will have to give a value to m which is at the right. Rightmost given variable should have a default value first, then you can try and give a default value to the just left variable, then to the left of the just left variable, and in this way. That means you have to give default value from right to left. Understood, students? Default value should be given from right to left. Now see, it is working fine for us. It is giving no errors. 10 taken and 20 taken, as both the values have been passed. Now if I write nothing here, then also it is going to work, taking the default values. Both of the variables is going to take the default value and they are working. If I even give one value, then also it is going to work. How? It is going to give n 40 and m would be having 70. I can well see. So students, I think you have understood. You have understood positional, you have understood default, you have understood keyword. There is another thing that should be understood here at this given moment, and that is we will now talk of variable length argument. So we delete everything from here now. We'll talk afresh. We delete everything from here. and we create a function, say fun3 now for us, and we'll use something like this. We'll say star p, and what we'll do is we'll understand it, what it means. We'll write for I in p, print I, and let me make it a bit clear. I'll write I is equal to I, and we'll use a separator, say space. So there is a for loop. Now you see what we do here. We have a star p. What does star p mean? Star p means that you are now free to give any number of actual arguments, any number of values from actual argument. So if I run fun3 with no values, it works for us. If we write fun3 with one value, then also it works for us. So let us see this first. What happens? Fun3 with no value, fun3 with one value. Let us make it a comment. Fun3 with no value first we'll work with. So here we come. Nothing happened because no value was passed. So p got nothing. As p got nothing, for I in p would have nothing in I. So nothing was printed. Now let us go for fun3 50. See students, for fun3 having nothing, even for I in p is not working at all. Why? Because no value has been passed. So nothing in list, because I in p means something should be in p. If something is in p, then it is going to work for us. Otherwise it is not going to work for us. Now when we pass 50, what happens? Now make this a comment and work with 50. Let us work with 50. So it is giving 50. Now let us pass two values. What would we do with two values? Let us first, yes, okay. Let us first close it so that it has gone down with the outputs. Two values. It gives two values, three values. It gives three values. What do you see? Now you are having a liberty. You can pass no arguments, one argument, or more than one argument. Whatever you pass, the parameter p is capable of taking that argument and working with it. This is known as variable argument. Now students, let us do something here. So we have a variable length argument here. So I can write here a variable length argument. You can well understand. Variable length argument. You can well understand. Now let us student do something here. Let us understand what actually is p a type of. Let us write here print type of p. Students, p is a tuple. P becomes a tuple. Whenever you pass such type of parameters, these parameters are actually a tuple. Let us see. See, it is of class tuple. Understood? So p is of which type? It is a tuple. So we can understand, but let us see again. If I pass, say, a string, what would happen? If I pass a string, what would happen? Which type is it is of? Then also tuple. So you have understood? P is always a tuple. A parameter of this type is always a tuples. So students, today we saw how we can pass parameters to functions. So there were four ways. The first was we understood how positional arguments are given. Then we understood keyword arguments. Then we understood the default argument. And now we have seen how variable length argument can be given. Students, this is all for today. But we will continue with parameters in our next video also. We will see some new concepts and we will have a revision through a presentation of the concept we have read today. So we will end the video session for today here only. Thanks a lot and have a very happy day ahead. Thank you.